45 seconds of logos. Also Comcast and Apple. I sinned how the numbers on these dice don't make sense or even stay in the same place during the opening credits of The Kingsman, and they still haven't been fixed. So here's a sin for being consistently inconsistent.
That nothing would ever be the same again.
Before we start, just would like to add context that we know the first 8 minutes of this movie come from a book reading, and you might think I'd be tempted to reverse some of the following sins given that knowledge, but trying to trick me into experiencing a book is curiously worth exactly the amount of sins we came up with until the movie makes that reveal. Look at that stupid CGI! They're still digitally erasing Henry Cavill's mustache 7 years after... Oh wait, that's his real face? The director said, I want to literally encapsulate the male gaze on screen and bludgeon the audience to death with it. Once Dua Lipa gets out of the way, there isn't any reason why these guys can't go ahead and kill Argylle to death. But they wait around and even ask him if he has any last words. These henchmen very kindly wait until all the gas covers Argylle before firing, giving him a chance to escape and making it more likely they'll all shoot each other instead of him. I guess the directorate has an amazing healthcare plan. Oh, Argylle has that cool spy power where he just asked the editors to cut him completely free of danger instead of actually showing where all those bad guys went and how he snuck out. Here's a ha for every stupid bullet that Lagrange fires at this Jeep instead of Argyle's extremely visible legs. Argylle attempting to Jackie Chan's police story his way through this quiet Greek community when Jackie Chan already pulled off a perfect Jackie Chan's police story in 1985. It was suggested that I need to take my brain out to enjoy this, so...
I'm about to enjoy a delicious Greek coffee.
Well, I suggest you hurry up.
She's inbound to your position.
What the f***, Argylle? If you knew Wyatt was down there, why did you wait until the last second to warn him? In fact, why did you leave poor Kira up there to bleed out if Wyatt was an option? Also, why did Argylle bother with that rooftop nonsense a minute ago trying to track her down? If you've got John Cena in your pocket at a key place on the island, then there's definitely no reason for that shit. Hell, you could have killed innocent people pulling that stunt. What was Wyatt's plan if Lagrange had been approaching in a car instead of a bike? This technique is impressive, but appears to be very specific to this situation.
You don't answer, you're going to be the same temperature as my coffee right now, which thanks to you is ice cold.
Why didn't you just order another coffee? You guys obviously ordered more shit since you began this sit-down with a Grammy Award-winning artist. Why the f*** is this phone only scanning one eye? Most phones scan your eyes, face, lips, social security, pooping habits, and conversations, and still insist on sending a one-time authentication code before logging into anything remotely sensitive. Maybe it isn't the best idea to use your actual name and job title when sending your highly incriminating messages of double-crossery.
Be advised, Lagrange. Agent Argylle is en route to your location now.
This is a terrible typing position. Fowler doesn't appear to have a screen or a computer on his desk, which means all of his computer work is done from this neck-twisting angle of ergonomic doom. My eyeballs are getting carpal tunnel just looking at it. Also, over here we have a biography for Argylle where his specialties are listed as espionage. Well, no f***ing shit. Disguise. Vague, but I'll allow it. Firearms, dance, golf, and f***ing other. If dance and golf don't fall under other, what exactly is it referencing? Basket weaving? The spies who would allow another spy in their captivity to have freedom to use their hands have likely never learned a thing about the spy business.
We're on our own now. The Directorate will come after us, so we go dark.
Okay, but if you're going to ghost the Directorate, isn't there some sort of protocol you should follow? Sounds like there isn't a nation on the planet that's willing to protect you rogues from the potential fallout and inevitable reckoning if you skip this mission, impossible as it may seem. Bottom line, this won't be as easy as 1, 2, 3. Also, a movie with ridiculous action and silliness can only come up with the Directorate for their villainous bad guy organization, and later we find out it's actually the Division, which is even f***ing worse. Does she actually read the end of this book to these people at her new book launch? I get finding an exciting passage of some sort and reading that, but the f***ing ending?
As boring as it may seem, the secret is research, research, research.
Well, that's weird because we'll eventually learn that she is a spy and these books are based on her suppressed memories. So if she truly believes her books are based on research, how did she end up ignoring that research in favor of her buried spy memories? Isn't it weird that all that research didn't influence the outcome of the real events she writes about? Does Argylle already have a movie franchise or some sort of cartoon adaptation? Otherwise, where are these action figures coming from? I'm sure there are examples, but it feels strange to have action figures for something that doesn't have a visual medium yet. Cats are an indicator of loneliness cliche. Also, leaving your eggs out on the counter. Wait, why would the character Argylle be holding a copy of the book Argylle? Look at this f***ing desk. We know there are only 4 published Argylle books, which means Ellie has had to put the same 4 books in this space 5 times to make this pattern. And worst of all, this shelf wasn't wide enough to accommodate a 6th run of books, which means this pattern finishes on book 3.
Once you've arrived, you'll receive a call on that phone from my employer, the world's greatest hacker.
Weird that she says this, because when we see what Ellie has typed, everything is different after the word employer.
I'm on the edge of my toilet.
Argylle about to get the master file, defeat those SOBs, and then the big twist is, it's in London.
Probably should have known that this book wasn't headed for a concrete ending when you were on the last couple pages and Argylle hadn't even met with the woman in Hong Kong yet.
Yeah, I think you have one more teeny tiny chapter to write.
I know secret bad guy Ruth is simply looking for answers, and she doesn't care about narrative structure at all, but the things she's saying need to be in this book would be way more than 1 chapter.
God, that was bad.
Delete.
Movie that is nearly 2.5 hours has time for an Ellie has writer's block scene.
Is this seat taken?
Unfortunately, it is.
Okay, I'll just sit in the seat right next to it. There are 3 seats here. They can't all be taken. Only a truly terrible person would say all the seats around them were taken just so they could sit alone. It's been a while since I've kept up with the MCU, but what does Gwen Stacy and Justin Hammer have to do with each other in this latest storyline? And is Gwen channeling Superman? How many Marvel TV shows do I need to ignore to enjoy this? The Argylle books have sold over 250 million copies worldwide, which is basically Harry Potter for spy novels. That's bigger than goddamn Twilight and the Da Vinci Code books. And while I don't have a real qualm with that number, I'm trying to figure out why there aren't any Argylle movies in this universe. No one even mentions movie rights.
Reality 1. You are in grave danger.
Ellie is on a train filled with people who plan on kidnapping her, but fortunately they will all wait for her protector to finish reading his book and explain the situation before making their move. My first time through the movie, during this prolonged fight scene on the train, I was so certain that Ellie was hallucinating it all that I didn't even bother to wonder why no one was stopping the train or calling the authorities. And that trick works for a while, but only on the first time. On the second time, I've watched this movie more than 1 time. Also, the action in this scene isn't terrible for once, but the sudden and frequent jump cuts between Rockwell and Cavill are confusing and make me want to vomit. This is the same guy from the book reading at the start of the movie, so why didn't he make his move there? Okay, maybe the division needs her to write more, but if they're not ready to take her in, why have a plant at the book reading?
Hey, wait, that's your type?
Jesus, is this guy playing the embodiment of Twitter? It's absolutely amazing they have this guy searching Ellie's house after he was just on the train a minute ago. Could they not get someone else to do this job while they were tracking her on the train? It's almost like the movie needs Carlos to be here so that Aiden can prove his story to Ellie.
Or to eliminate an incompetent imbecile.
This trope with the main bad guy killing his second in command because he messed up is so tired that I long for the days of 35mm film, when there was an outside chance that a scene like this could get damaged from a brain wrap and burned. Also, in this movie, this guy doesn't serve as an example for anyone else. Nobody gets the same treatment when they mess up later. It's just in here because every movie like this has this exact scene.
I got proof of bombings, election fraud, radioactive poisoning.
It's almost like the division shouldn't have a master file containing all the corrupt and illegal shit they're doing. This board is just filled with a vague plan to hack the division, some gibberish code, and a bunch of hacking buzzwords.
How about this plane, huh?
If Aiden is on his own and on the run from the division, how does he have access to this fancy-ass jet? I mean, Bond has a Felix to do this shit for him, so why didn't you invent a Felix for Aiden? Hell, I wouldn't have been mad if you'd just cast Jeffrey Wright again.
Please fasten your seatbelts for takeoff.
Yeah, like this is gonna help us if we crash.
The seatbelt is not for crashing. It's for what happens when you take off and land, so you won't fly out of your seat. It will also help when some sudden and extreme turbulence inspires the ceiling to compress your skull into your kneecaps so you won't start the final destination.
Well, we're in a public park being pursued by assassins hunting you on behalf of the most dangerous spy organization on Earth.
Yeah, why are you in a public park showing your faces? I mean, yeah, you should jog your memory, but shouldn't you be wearing disguises? Or at least hiding behind a tree when you do this shit? In fact, Aiden makes so many mistakes in this scene that I'm more inclined to believe he's Chuck Barris more than he is a spy. Give this man 5 cents.
It's not War and Peace. You know, we just need a chapter, maybe a couple of pages.
Dude, you're lucky she is even attempting this nonsense. Aiden is confident this will work because Ellie is tapping into some memories of an event that actually happened, but Ellie doesn't know that. She literally thinks she's going to stranger than fiction her way out of this mess.
With this chip, in theory, could you make end-to-end encrypted calls?
In theory. But the person on the other end would have to have a
Matching dissect satellite dish.
This sounds needlessly complicated. Argylle got the phone from the woman who worked for the hacker. Why not just tell him then and there where he was going to be? This is a bunch of bullshit to make everyone look smart, when all he needed was an address to memorize.
If we don't crack this before they do, heads will roll.
Why? You could simply go to the address that they come up with and send
Everyone!
Besides, they're on foot in the middle of a park.
That's the absolute closest address.
To the memorial.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Engelberg Street.
They deduce that the hacker is at an address that lines up with the position of the satellite that's linked to the hacker's phone and the burner phone he gave Argylle. Cool. But how do you get the apartment number from that? Aren't there usually multiple apartments in one building? Also, does this satellite just stay fixed above this apartment building permanently? I could see the hacker timing this with the original meeting, but don't forget, that meeting was 5 years ago. The satellite hasn't moved in 5 years?
Look, look, look! There's a line! This is a clue.
This mysterious line isn't actually what they were looking for and won't be explained until much later in the movie, but you can totally forgive Ellie for thinking it's a clue. What I can't forgive is that Aiden tippity-taps his way into finding the actual clue they're looking for through dumb f***ing luck.
This is his logbook.
Yeah, it could lead us to the master file.
Movie decides we need a Sonic-style quest to find this master file. By the time we find out the truth, we're going to realize the movie has its cake and eats it too, because this logbook was never intended for Ellie to find. But it's here so that we can get that Indiana Jones adventure we're all craving. The original plan did not require this logbook, but once the movie covers up that plot hole, Bakunin's instruction for Ellie to follow still end up being pretty stupid.
Target's MIA.
Kits. Yeah, I'm calling a nope on him getting this much height from a crouching start after bursting through this flooring, even if it was loose. Boy, Henry Cavill must have been super pleased to play occasional stand-in for Sam Rockwell in this movie. Aiden survives this, which is totally fine by me. I just wish he'd land already. Also, the explosion makes a convenient bed-sized exit into the neighbor's apartment, something the movie barely even shows you because it's so focused on Sam Rockwell and Henry Cavill's comical floating. They absolutely needed this to happen because in a minute, another wave of bad dudes are going to show up at 3:05 and he's going to flashbang and wipe them all out as they line up outside.
Okay, these division dudes, they come in waves.
You know, almost like a video game or an action movie. Doesn't make any sense in the real world, but it's great for pacing.
I'm gonna take them out.
Okay.
And you're gonna stomp their heads as we pass.
Okay, this movie has some funny moments and isn't a bad example of the super spy teams up with a regular person trope. But the difference between this and the really great ones is truly night and day. Also, this head stomping thing is considered important because they want to make sure all the bad guys are dead after Aiden shoots them. But oddly, this was not something Aiden felt was necessary with any of the other bad guys before now. I'm willing to believe this is a real cat, and I'm willing to believe this is a real Sam Rockwell. But the CG wobbliness here suggests I am not watching a real Sam Rockwell holding a real cat at the same time. Okay, now that would have been more likely to kill the cat than anything else. Might seem strange, but there's a very good reason cats have evolved to land on their legs and not their rib cages. These see-through displays look fancy and futuristic, but would be insanely hard to use day to day. Only a tech company with experience in making popular devices would step in and start making movies like these.
Ellie Conway needs a bullet in her head.
Oh, for sake. This, of course, is just hyperbole because Aiden is annoyed that Ellie hasn't remembered that she's an awesome spy, and her inability to do spy things has been a liability. He could have made this phone call anywhere in private, but because the movie needs to add an extra 20 minutes of runtime, he doesn't, and he says the stupidest thing out loud imaginable.
Barry! Book us flights to London! England!
Finally! In case you confused it with London, Australia.
Do you remember the hotel that I put you and Dad up for your 30th anniversary?
In the meantime, I guess Ellie wanders around the streets of London for roughly a full day while she waits for her parents to arrive. I'm sure that won't be an issue because the editing will take care of it.
If anyone asks, say it's a business trip for Dad.
Something tells me that we haven't seen Ellie's dad yet because he's Bryan Cranston. And now there's officially an explanation for why Ellie has only pictures of her cat in her house. Sure, she loves her cat, but the movie loves keeping her dad a secret even more. Later, Ellie will suddenly produce a locket that has her parents and her cat, almost as if the surprise reveal willed itself into existence.
You must be starving, dear. I ordered all your favorites.
I don't want to judge, but I do find it peculiar that Ellie's favorites appear to be fruit, fries, grapes, and this limp sandwich.
Where's Dad? Down the hall getting ice.
They make you call room service for ice. Can you believe it?
Since the movie clearly had Bryan Cranston out of the room just so they could do this dramatic surprise reveal, I am more than a little irked that the movie didn't just let him come back with some damn ice. Don't worry, Director Ritter isn't going to kill Ellie here. But why aren't there people to take her away right now? If you still want to keep up the appearance that you're still the kind, loving parents Ellie thinks you are, that's an easy fix.
So now you're experimenting with drugs.
Man, you gotta hand it to Ruth. She went full method with this character. She doesn't even need to say shit like this to keep the ruse up, but she does it anyway.
God forbid something happened to you. I don't know what your mother and I would do.
I think you managed just fine.
It sure would have sucked if Ellie had been brutally murdered while Aiden was waiting at the door for this dramatic setup. Also, I guess there are a number of ways Aiden could have figured out where Ellie and her secret spy parents were and what room they were in, but so far the movie has not shown me that he's the type of guy that knows them. Oh sure, he figured out that she was going to be on that train, but that's only because he tapped into the Division's peep show cam at her house.
But there's more bad guys coming, Ellie.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that there's no way Ellie would leave that cat behind. I mean, good for her for making the correct choice, but a cat lover like her would find the time.
Trust me, you need some rest, kid.
Stop calling her kid! In fact, for all the other times he calls her kid, we're gonna add 3 sins total. How did they get to France? I mean, they can totally drive there overnight, but earlier Ellie said she didn't have her passport. That was fine when they had that private jet, but using this car would have meant using the Channel Tunnel, and they definitely check passports. Probably to prevent cheese smugglers or something.
No more tears. Promise.
Unkeepable promises.
Pinot Noir. One of the oldest grapes there is.
No one will be seated as Samuel L. Jackson narrates the condensed history of Pinot Noir without a single motherfucker in sight.
Those books you write, Aiden told you they were predictions. Well, they're not. They're memories of who you truly are.
Memories that she gradually pulled out in detail and in the order they happened so she could write them into a series of books that accurately describe the events of her life. Yeah, because that's how memories work. They never fail or morph over time.
Welcome back, Agent R. Kyle.
This name is too uncomfortably close to R. Kelly.
You think spy novels are cheesy crap? You don't even like cats. You're a dog person.
This is the worst rap battle ever committed to film. So Aiden swings at Ellie to jar her spy memory, but for f***'s sake, if this was going to work, why hasn't it worked before now?
I put myself out there in the field to capture these images.
Oh, that's awesome. He had spy glasses taking pictures the whole time. But let's go back to the real scene. He's just turning pages through the book like a madman. He doesn't stop to take pictures.
I mean, why didn't you just come out and tell me?
We had to let your memories come back in their own time, naturally. Otherwise, you could lose everything.
But that's not what you did. You took her to a barn in France and then bam, here's a biography of a life you've forgotten. And by the way, you know Kung Fu. How was any of that letting it return naturally?
It wasn't me who went there. It was you.
And also everything was black and white except for the stuff that was yellow. The world was weird back then.
They brainwashed you, Ellie. It's as simple as that.
Okay, the Division's plan was to brainwash Ellie so they could drip feed her information about an imaginary life in the hopes that it would inspire her to write a series of best-selling novels based on her real memories that would eventually lead them to an incriminating master file. I can barely begin to explain how unnecessarily complicated this plan is, so for the sake of pacing, I'll take it one ding at a time. What if she didn't remember everything perfectly and just made up a bunch of shit that doesn't make sense and wasn't actionable intelligence? What if her first and second book hadn't been bestsellers and she just gave up writing? What if the CIA got a hold of the master file in the intervening years that it took to research, write, and publish 5 books? If you can brainwash her so specifically, why not just brainwash her into believing that she's one of you and get the information out of her that way? Okay, it might take a long time, but I bet it's not write and publish 5 books long time. And finally, this works.
He opened an investigation, but without the master file as proof, Ritter had him dismissed as a conspiracy theorist.
This is the kind of drive-by exposition that opens up way more questions than answers. We were introduced to Alfie as a former CIA guy, but I guess he worked for the Division? And if you're going to start an investigation into a company you work for, that requires some more finesse, right? Like, people at the Division shouldn't know that you're investigating them, right? I got more questions, but no more time!
Wait, so you've been watching me for the last 5 years?
This plan has taken 5 years, which means the master file has been sitting around for 5 years. Considering how precious Ritter has been about time, it is insane that he backed a plan that has taken 5 years.
Killed in action. Shot through the heart, just the way you wrote it by the real Lagrange.
Book 6, I was gonna bring her back, you know?
Kira might be the least dead character I've ever seen a movie try to convince me is dead.
A reader had emailed in this insane, brilliant idea for a twist.
We find out later that this was the real Kira who emailed this suggestion, which is great. She's alive. The question I have, though, is how did she know to lay low after the mission? It was only after she was shot that Argylle and Wyatt found out that the Division was dirty and they thought she was dead. So if she was alive, wouldn't she have reported back to work? Also, all of these are emails from fans who seem pretty innocuous until you realize that Ellie has 34,234 unread emails.
Lay Massey just got his ass whipped!
I tried to look up what a lay Massey code is, and let's just say the Wikipedia entry makes less sense than brainwashing a secret agent into publishing their secrets in a series of books.
If you can write Agent Argylle for 5 years, you can be Rachel Kyle for one night.
Did he just equate writing a spy character to being a spy? Yeah, because we all know that I'd be great at making movies. Wait, we've just been given place names like Greece and London so far, but now you're giving us some peninsular shit? Don't you go waving your peninsulas in my face, movie.
You know what's good for nerves? Dancing.
Oh, good. I was hoping they'd find a way to add more time to this movie.
So, we were good together?
Skip! You gotta love how Saba basically runs a slightly more sophisticated safe deposit box operation in the middle of the Arabian Peninsula. I find it hard to believe this is a successful business.
You don't need me. You just need you.
But I thought she was you. And if she was you, then you'd be her. And she'd use your body to get to the top. And you can't stop her no matter who you are. Stupid movie got me so mad I went full Ventura.
You tend not to give a shit what a bottom feeder like yourself thinks about anything.
While this newfound confidence is awesome, what does Saba make of the moment just seconds ago when she asked her if she was Ellie or Rachel and she nearly cried?
You're welcome to use my computer.
And how do I know that's secure?
There's a reason I'm the keeper of secrets.
Ellie believes this. Fortunately, she's right, but this is super naive.
You, please don't try anything stupid. Unlike Savoy, I don't need to wear a bulletproof vest in here.
But wouldn't it be a smart idea to wear one anyway? Or were you just trying to find a way to slip how you survived being shot into the conversation? Because that only needed explaining if you've never seen a movie before. Also, I'm always happy to see more of Catherine O'Hara, but isn't she just a neurologist they brought in to do the hypnotizing? Why is she also doing field work?
You first.
Why does anyone bother drinking anything in this scenario? You are all spies. Why would you do this to yourselves? It would seem like a standing agreement between spies that drinking stuff is off limits.
Yeah, it's not here. It's waiting for you and only you. With the Keeper of Secrets herself.
I still don't understand why he goes through the trouble of sending it to the Keeper of Secrets. The only thing I can think of is that he needed protection in case Ellie wanted to kill him after getting the master file. But he just straight up tells her where it is. So what's the point? This also brings up the question of why the hacker left a logbook behind in his apartment, buried underneath the floorboards that tells anyone with cryptography skills who he gave the file to, especially since the only person who could access the file was Ellie.
Our business here is done.
It is kind of wild that the best agent ever trained by Langley Kyle didn't anticipate a reclusive hacker having something like this set up, although maybe she was surprised that he didn't set it up in a way that could have possibly prevented his death. Let me get this straight. A huge explosion blows up this apartment. Someone presumably tidies it up, fixes all the damage, throws up some wallpaper, removes Bakunin's equipment, and then leaves it empty for 5 years? Who did this? And fucking why?
Weapons are not allowed, but sleeping aids, perfectly acceptable.
Glad you had just enough time to tell Ellie that right after Ruth and Aiden both got knocked out at the same time.
Once you knew I knew the truth about the division, you could have killed me.
Aiden will go on to surmise that Ellie Rachel Argylle wanted out of the division too, but she played both sides until the very end, and would have given the master file to Alfie. But what I'm hung up on that the movie doesn't ever explain is why the division wanted to kill Ellie Rachel Argylle in the first place, and why there was ever an option to continue working for the organization that nearly killed her.
It seems we serve the same master.
If this shit in Greece actually happened, I'm calling even more bullshit that Aiden managed to lift LaGrange off the back of that bike as it was riding by. No offense to Sam Rockwell, but he ain't no John Cena.
All that goodness, that's in you.
There's 30 minutes left in this movie. This could have been so much better if we hadn't already learned about the vascular corridor thing earlier. Ellie could have been vague about the tip the fans sent in, and we wouldn't be so tuned in to how Aiden is going to survive this.
Because you gave me access to your mainframe, I just sent the master file to Alfie.
Wait, the master file is also still in the division's computers? Why aren't you just deleting that shit? Also, Ellie, by all indications, you should be smart enough to not tell the main villain this shit while the file transfer is still in progress.
Because I remember everything.
Now that the movie doesn't want to hold on to its big reveal anymore, Ellie will suddenly regain all of her memories, spy skills, and combat abilities so that we can have a proper action-filled finale. Isn't the brain neat? You gotta love how this computer waits until it's dramatically devastating for Ellie to report that it can't send the file. As Bryce takes off her heels here, it's weird how lessons you learn from a movie playing one character transfer to another movie playing a different character. Do you maybe want to not leave your precious cat in full view of the door?
You shot me in the heart!
2 words, vascular corridor.
1 word, bullshit. Look, I'm pretty sure we all left the theater and immediately Googled, is the vascular corridor a thing and could you actually survive being shot through it? And I guess the research basically says, yes, this is possible, but the key is to stop the bleeding. And you definitely aren't pulling shit like this with a couple extra holes in your heart.
There's a 2-inch space. You hit it just the right angle. It looks like a shot to the heart, but the bullet will go through and through.
Okay, but this requires you to not just be an incredible shot, which we know Ellie is, but you also have to be intimately familiar with where exactly that corridor is on the human you're shooting, because guess what? We don't all keep our internal shit in the same places. This would be nearly impossible to pull off even with X-ray vision.
As long as you stop the bleeding.
Yeah, but you just said the bullet will go through and through, and the exit wounds are way more damaging than entry wounds, so what's stopping the bleeding from the other side? Also, we're now saying that Rachel stuffed a rag inside Kira's chest on the off chance that the bullet went through the vascular corridor. Okay, maybe you do that just in case, but it's insane that it actually worked. and she still wasn't fixing the bleeding from the exit wound.
You purposely shot me through a 2-inch passageway in my chest after not firing a gun for 5 years based on an idea a fan sent in.
It's weird. I feel like they're talking to me, but they don't appear to be looking right down the camera and making eye contact with me.
Who's the fan? Jeffrey Dahmer?
Come on. What kind of punchline is this? Dahmer didn't use guns, and he certainly wouldn't be talking about saving victims. This colorful, violent dance number to a Leona Lewis cover of Snow Patrol's Run is presented to us as something fun, and that's great. I think you should believe in yourself. You could end this in seconds with grenades, which we saw bad guys using earlier. But no, these guys just fire blindly into the smoke, which probably should work considering the sheer number of bullets. Meanwhile, our heroes dance around rainbow smoke while they mow down henchmen, which is the kind of scenario your chat GPT would come up with after telling it to hire the Wachowskis to direct a Skittles commercial. Also, as rad as this looks, why the does the Division have all these ridiculously colorful smoke grenades? This looks like the armory at Sesame Street, not a secret spy agency.
Can't see
Wait, why can't you see Why can't you turn your monitor or camera to night vision? Why don't you seem to have access to the same tech that Ellie and Aiden found in your armory?
Give me thermal imaging now.
Thermal imaging coming up now.
So you do have it. Why the did he have to be told? Well, I'm sure the judges will give this a 7 out of 10. I highly doubt there are any bad guys on the roof, so this feels like a waste of ammo. Ellie and Aiden will get all the credit, but it's a shame that backup dancers will be completely overlooked. This performance doesn't work at all if it isn't for their dedication to standing there and not shooting them. Also, did they rehearse this? Because there's some pretty intricate timing going down for something apparently happening on the fly. I guess there could have been a time skip, but this immediate cut from the whirlybird to them both standing and spinning is jarring as hell.
Open the extraction vents. All of them.
Fucking what? Fucking extraction vents? You had extraction vents and you're only opening them now? Why does he hate everyone who works for him? Why did he want these men dead? Bringing your beloved pet into the fray and risking it catching strays.
Hold the fire! One spark and we could all die!
I guess it's lucky for Ellie and Aiden that this spy headquarters ends up being an oil tanker. You know, like the basis of most secret spy organizations.
Knife's up.
Yeah, because there's no chance that metal on metal could cause any kind of spark. It's the first lesson at how not to start a fire school. Also, this is a terrible way to hold your knife that leaves your fingers completely exposed. This is really just a movie thing and only works if you're Steven Seagal and your opponent is an unhinged Tommy Lee Jones.
What do you got in mind, hot sauce?
I think she's planning to destroy the quota of This Works that I had meticulously planned for the rest of the year and a few from 2025's allotment too. Of course, this is total bullshit, but who cares? You're not here for that. I could simply say that this is a perfect echo of the ice skating scene in Batman and Robin, where Arnold Schwarzenegger uttered the famous line, "What killed the dinosaurs? Ice Age!" And it's here that I wish the myth that dinosaurs became oil was true, because then I could say something about Bryce Dallas Howard skating on the backs of dinosaurs, and how I wish Owen Grady were here to use his clicker to make the oil that used to be the Raptors do some neat tricks. And Samuel L. Jackson says, "Hold on to your butts." But here I am, unable to say those things. I could spend the next 30 minutes continuing to dissect this scene, but the fact that Ellie takes this huge slide, but in the very next shot can be seen with zero oil on her legs, is all I really care to say about it.
Let's write your final chapter.
Let's write yours.
I sure hope this isn't the kind of writing that Ellie puts in her Argylle books, because that was nearly as lame as that "No, I came back to stop you" line from The Dark Knight Rises. Don't worry, Carlos. I'm pretty sure she just nicked your vascular corridor. You'll be fine as long as you stop the bleeding. I thought we were worried about the crude oil blowing up. You know what, movie? You're right. Who gives a f? I think I'm actually more offended by the token oil spill that has suddenly appeared on Ellie's face. Commit to your bullshit, movie. Commit!
Oh, no.
What's that? What's going on?
You gotta respect a dramatic gun cocking to announce your arrival, but did he seriously walk in here with the shotgun unloaded?
She discovered that she'll need an authorized retina scan to get into the system. And these are the only peepers that will do.
Look, let this serve as a lesson. Just because you have the upper hand on someone who wants to ruin you doesn't mean you can't be helpful. Also, if he knew that and knew her goal was to get to the server room, why didn't he just let her get here where she could achieve all? All of his thugs have died to prevent her from doing a thing that he knew by design she couldn't do. This should be Samuel L. Jackson playing Ritter so that the movie can retain the Marvel cat scratch continuity that I'm envisioning. That was the logo I saw at the beginning of this movie, right?
Overriding mainframe, accessing outbox.
Narrating techie things as I do them because it probably sounds cool and helps with pacing.
And just like that.
So what we're saying is that the new retina thing that the Division put in place after Bakunin stole the files can be circumvented by an elevator?
Epsilon, Psi, Omega.
They had this get out way of controlling Ellie this entire time and only now are using it. How the f have they not won this movie, guys? These bad guys are the 1986 Red Sox of movie villains.
Target wild. Activate.
But her orders were to kill Aiden. Ruth didn't say shit about stopping the countdown. Also, movie rips off the Naked Gun so hard that Reggie Jackson woke up to kill the Queen. They made this movie in 2021 and she died in 2022, so you don't have to be a genius to connect the dots.
Remember who you are!
The real you is inside there somewhere, cliche. This scene where Ellie attempts to crush Aiden's skull takes so long that you can literally go to the bathroom while Ellie's leg is up and it will still be there when you return.
How are you alive? What do you think was the fan that sent you the vascular corridor idea? Personal experience with that one.
Remember when I said being shot through the vascular corridor was possible? Well, there was a slight addendum to that research, which was along the lines of, yes, it could happen, but me, is it unlikely and damn near impossible to pull off. And not only does it happen once, it happens twice in this movie. And Kira's one was a accident. Also, who saved her? Sure, the bleeding stopped, but didn't Ritter send a medevac team to rescue her? So wouldn't he know that she survived? And if she ran away after she regained consciousness, wouldn't the medevac team report that there wasn't a body, also meaning that Ritter would know she's still alive?
No, when I didn't hear back from you, I realized you really had forgotten everything.
You're making it sound like the vascular corridor is some well-known thing, when clearly Ellie Rachel Argylle didn't know about it when she left you dying in the Jeep. Besides, you may not have heard back from her because she felt bad she was gonna steal your idea, or the fact that she's busy and can't read everything or get back to everybody.
So I burrowed my way into the Division's networks, waiting for the moment to strike.
You know, this random moment here, and not at any time earlier in the movie when you guys could really have used the help. This is a terrible way to hold a cat while driving a boat.
I was always gonna bring you the master file.
Oh, they're finally kissing. It's about time. Wait, in Ellie's book, she's Argylle and Aiden is Wyatt, and they're played by Henry Cavill and John Cena, which means this is the perfect opportunity to have them. You fucking cowards.
And now our final question.
We're back at a book reading? Well, what does that mean? Was she the spy or not? Was any of this real, or was it all part of some weird connected narrative? Did she put the character called Ellie Conway in the books? Or did she just decide to live a quiet life as an author instead of a spy? Damn it, movie, spell it out for me. What if people hate you and you never get the chance to explain this shit? Allergies are so hilarious. Why the is Aiden responsible for holding this cat? And why is he not in his Hello Kitty bag or at home? Holy shit. You mean, you're not saying. No! Are you saying Henry Cavill is real?
What's your name?
Aubrey Argylle.
Hey, remember when movies just knew how to end? Yeah, me neither. But I do remember when they didn't all have to expand into a shared universe in order to feel relevant. Now, you can tell me that the pub being called the Kingsman is just a subtle nod, but it literally shares the same logo, and young Argylle here is picking up a weapon, so I'm gonna say this is the Kingsman verse and enjoy being thoroughly confused and irritated. Also, my final thought is that you should watch Liam Neeson's Unknown instead of this. By no means a great movie, but it is 30 minutes shorter. It doesn't tie into any Kingsman movies. Yet. Yoink!
As appealing as that sounds, Mother, I am in a relationship.
Gossip is the devil's telephone.
The chances of you dying in a plane crash are like 1 in 11 million.
Never tell me the odds.
I've never been on a plane before.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
It's not War and Peace. You know, we just need a chapter.
No, I don't want the whole damn Bible. Just give me a couple chapters. We gotta get something up to these guys.
Do not try and bend the spoon. That's impossible.
The chances of you dying in a plane crash are like 1 in 11 million.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
And what do we always say?
Barry, what do you think?
But the longer you take to answer the question, and you will answer.
And you will atone.
Red alert! Red alert!
Red alarm! Red alarm!
Carlos! Take every unit you have and go now. I mean every single unit.
Suck my unit.
Hold on to your butts.
What's your name?
Argylle. I'm your limo driver.